Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Giri Varadhari Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Brajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda, Jaya Jaya Shri Caitanya Jaya Nityananda, Jaya Dvaita Chandra Jaya Gora Bhakta Vrinda. So we are reading from Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, Ādi-līlā, chapter 2, which is entitled something. And we are reading from verses 110 to 112. Sorry, 109 to 112. Sorry? Okay. So I'll just read verses 109, 110, 111, then we can recite 112 together. So text 109. Say Krishna avatari Vrajendra Kumar, apane Chaitanya rupe Kaila avatar. Say, the translation. That same Lord Krishna, the fountainhead of all incarnations, is known as the son of the king of Vraja. He is descended personally as Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 110. Ateva Chaitanya Gosai Paratattvat Sima Tanik Shirodashai Kahi Ki Tane Mahima. Translation. Therefore, Lord Sri Chaitanya is the supreme absolute truth. To call him Shirodakshai Vishnu does not add to his glory. Text 111. Say te bhaktera vakya nahe vyabhichari sakala sambhavetante yate avatari. Translation. But such words from the lips of a sincere devotee cannot be false. All possibilities abide in him, for he is the primeval Lord. Text 112. Okay. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati. Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati. Anybody who has
Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti.
Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti.
Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati.
Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Keho kono mate kahe yemana yaramati. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Kiho kona mate kahe, yemana yaramati. Avatarira deha sabha avatarira sthiti. Keho kona mate kahe yemana yaramati. Okay. What? Avatarira of the source. Dehe, in the body. Sabha, all. Avatarira, of the incarnations. Sthiti, existence. Keho, someone. Konamate, in some way. Kehe, says. Yemana, as in the manner. Yara, of whom. Mati, the opinion. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Translation. All other incarnations are potentially situated in the original body of the primeval Lord. Thus, according to one's opinion, one may address him as any one of the incarnations. So if you'd like to repeat after me. All other incarnations are potentially situated in the original body of the primeval Lord. Thus, according to one's opinion, one may address him as any one of the incarnations. Purport. It is not contradictory for a devotee to call the Supreme Lord by any one of the various names of his plenary expansions, because the original personality of Godhead includes all such categories. Since the plenary expansions exist within the original person, one may call him by any of these names. In the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat, Ādi-līlā 695, Lord Chaitanya says, I was lying asleep in the ocean of milk, but I was awakened by the call of Nada, Sri Advaita Prabhu. Here the Lord refers to his form as Shirodakshaya Vishnu. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakya Chakshurumritam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadahmayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadhvetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamascha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sate Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhuvevacha Patitanam Pavnebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityanamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you everyone for coming, and before I start speaking, my first time in the temple room of ISKCON New York City, Brooklyn, I'd like to take the blessings of all the assembled Vaishnavas, of the senior devotees as well, so I can speak something which is relevant, which is purifying, which is uplifting in consciousness for all of us, including myself as a speaker. When we see any of the literatures that have conversational, most of our literatures are conversational based, we see that there's always a glorification of the transcendental wisdom because both the speaker as well as the listener get purified in the process. And today we're reading from the Sri Caitanya-caritāmṛta, which is actually a very important scripture for us within ISKCON, within Gaudiya Vaishnavism. When we see there's three primary scriptures that we have. There's the Bhagavad-gītā, the Śrīmad Bhagavatam, and the Caitanya-caritāmṛta. But of all three, the Caitanya-caritāmṛta is considered our scripture. When you consider the Bhagavad-gītā, It's a scripture which is used by anybody who follows Sanatana Dharma. It's a foundational study for anyone who follows Sanatana Dharma. Could be the Shaivites, could be the Shaktiyas, could be the Vaishnavas. But then the Srimad Bhagavatam is a literature that is more specific to the Vaishnavas, those who follow the four Sampradayas, the Shri, the Sanatan, the Rudra Sampradaya, and the Brahma Sampradaya. And then within the Brahma Sampradaya, we have Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, which is the one that we follow within ISKCON, under Srila Prabhupada's shelter, under the Gaudiya Mat shelter. And the key scripture for us is the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, because that describes the glories of Gauriyadesh, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. So it's very befitting that we are reading the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, and even more fitting that we are reading the second chapter of the Ādi-līlā, which talks about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. And then in chapters 3 and 4, we find out the internal and the external reasons for why he really appears. And what we see in the second chapter is this idea of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and even Krishna himself being the Supreme Personality of Godhead is described in different ways. Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami cites many conversations. He cites different personalities, different references from different scriptures to establish the fact that Krishna is indeed the Supreme Person. Krishna is the source of the incarnations. Krishna is the source of the material world. He's the source of all the energies. And specifically in verse 9 of this chapter, he says, Nanda Sutta Bali Yane Bhagavate Gai Se Krishna Avatirna Chaitanya Gosai. He says, quote, he whom Srimad Bhagavatam describes as the son of Nanda Maharaj has descended to earth as Lord Chaitanya. Unquote. He's basically describing how Krishna himself is descending in the form of Mahaprabhu. And based on all these citations that Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami gives us and presents, he uses different methods to establish Krishna as the Supreme. He uses scriptures, he uses linguistic authorities, he uses theological authority. He uses many different ways to establish Krishna's supremacy, so that any of us who are maybe interested in preaching, in teaching, in even just understanding how do we understand that Krishna is God, we can get it from these chapters, especially this chapter here. And then we're at the end of the chapter or approaching the end, and now Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is then flipping to then say that Krishna, that is God, that is the Supreme Person, is coming down as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. In the Bhagavad-gītā, we understand that Krishna says, Paritaranaya sadhunam vinashaya dushkitam dharma samsthapanataya sambhavami yoge yuge. That Krishna descends in this world for three reasons. One is to annihilate the miscreants, one is to deliver the pious, and the third is to re-establish dharma. But the reality is that Krishna doesn't have to come to do any of those three things. He could just send one of his agents, like Durga Devi, to annihilate the demons. Just by his glance, in the Bhagavatam it says, just by his glance, he impregnates the material creation to allow the living entities to so-called take birth. He could just glance over the miscreants and annihilate them in just one shot. So he doesn't actually have to come to do any of these three things. He could just send his agents, he could just glance over, he could just think, just desire that, okay, the material world and all the demons in the material world get annihilated, or the pious personalities in the material world get liberated. And dharma, everybody just follows the dharmic codes perfectly. And so it's mentioned that actually, whenever Krishna descends, he has an internal or an external reason and also an internal reason. The external reason may be one of these three things, but there's an internal reason, and that internal reason is usually or almost always related to wanting to enjoy transcendental mellows with his devotees. And so when we look at the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Well, on the external side, we see that he didn't actually come to annihilate the demons, because we all are probably aware of the story of Jagai Madai. Jagai Madai was such demoniac personalities, raping, burning buildings, killing people, etc., etc. And when Mahaprabhu, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, wanted to kill them because they were offending Nityananda Prabhu, they'd thrown a pot, I think it was, to Nityananda Prabhu's head and caused Nityananda to bleed. Mahaprabhu wanted to kill him, but Nityananda was like, no, 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 remember why you came. You didn't come to kill the people. You didn't come to kill the demons. You came to kill the demoniac mentality within the people. So externally, he didn't even come to kill or to annihilate the demons. He came to annihilate the demoniac mentality. But what's the internal reason for Mahaprabhu appearing? Whereas Surabhi Kunj Devi nicely yesterday talked about it, it's this idea, this mood that he wanted to experience the pleasures or the rasa that Radharani, Srimati Radharani was experiencing. It's described in the pastime how once Krishna was just looking around and he saw his own reflection. And on seeing his reflection, he became so intoxicated, he became so mad by his own beauty that he started wondering, like, if I'm attracted to myself in this way, how on earth, or what on earth do my devotees see? What on earth do my devotees smell and hear? If I'm this attracted, what must my devotees feel? And of all devotees, what must Srimati Radharani feel when she sees me, hears me, smells my scent? And so in Ādi-līlā chapter 1 verse 6 is described. Shri Radhaya pranaya mahima kidrisho vanayeva svadyo yenad bhuta madhurima kidrisho vamadiya sokyam chasya madanubhavata kidrisham veti labhat tad bhavadya samajani shachi garbhasindo harindu. Translation: desiring to understand the glory of Radharani's love, the wonderful qualities in him that she alone relishes through her love, and the happiness she feels when she realizes the sweetness of his love. The Supreme Lord Hari, richly endowed with her emotions, appeared from the womb of Srimati Shachi Devi as the moon appeared from the ocean. Unquote. So that was the internal reason, to experience the love of the devotees, to experience the mellows and the relationship that the devotees have with Krishna. But then it's described in chapter 4, in the introduction of chapter 4 actually, the external reasons for the Lord's appearance as Mahaprabhu. And there's two primary given by Srila Prabhupada in the introductory section of chapter 4 of Ādi-līlā. One is the propagation of the Harinam Sankirtan, the glorification of the holy names, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. But the second reason given is to answer the call of Sri Advaita Acharya. And in that section, Srila Prabhupada explicitly calls out that these are the secondary reasons. So the primary reason is the internal reason, to experience the mellows with the devotees and what Radharani was feeling. And in the purport that we just read today, of verse 112 of chapter 2, Srila Prabhupada actually talks about the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat and the pastime of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's conversation with Advaita Acharya, talking about why Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared. So I thought it would be nice that we just absorb ourselves in the pastime a bit from the Sri Chaitanya Bhagavat. So the section starts with Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Srivas Pandit's brother, younger brother called Ramai. And he's speaking to Ramai and saying, okay, there's Sri Advaita Acharya over there in another village, and he called for us. He wanted us to be present. So you please go to his house and you please tell him that the one you've been praying for, the one that you've devoted your whole life to invite into this world, has now appeared. I'm here now. Call for him. Tell him to come here to Navadvip. And tell him also that Nityananda, Balram, the eternal Supreme Personality of Godhead in a servitor mood, is also here and present. So Ramai, being an obedient devotee, an obedient almost disciple, you could say. He followed the desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and went to Advaita Acharya's house. And he started to tell Advaita Acharya that, look, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has come. He's basically the one that you've been praying for. He's calling you to come and meet him. And so Advaita Acharya is like, Ramai, you're a little kid. I already know this. I already knew that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has already appeared. How? Because the pure devotees who are functioning on that pure devotional platform, they're completely aligned with the will of the Lord. And it's described that they know the past, present, and future. And we see that there's many personalities like this in the Bhagavatam. We see many accounts of Narada Muni showcasing that he knows past, present, future. And even in Canto 3, Brahma is explicitly described and mentioned. It says, so when in Canto 3, chapter 12, when they're talking about Brahma and how he's invited or recited the four Vedas, then it's described that when he's reciting or when he's bringing the fifth Veda, the Puranas and the Itihasas into existence, when he's speaking them from his mouth, it's because he has Sarva Darshana. And Srila Prabhupada translates that as he could see all the past, the present, and the future. So the pure devotees, the devotees who are completely aligned with the will of the Lord, have the ability to see the past, present, and future. But still, hearing this message from Ramai, Advaita Acharya is in ecstasy. He's completely amazed that the Lord is calling for him. And so he starts crying, he starts shedding tears, and then at some point he falls unconscious. And we see this form of ecstasy is very constant throughout many personalities. And when he awakens from his when he externally wakes up, then he's loudly shouting out, yes, by my prayers, by the power of my prayers, by the power of my devotion, by the power of my plea, the Lord, he was forced, he was compelled to descend from his eternal abode in the Vaikunthan planets to this earthly realm, just to save all the people of this world. And like this, Advaita Acharya is just in ecstasy because he recognizes that he has captured the heart of the Lord. And we see again, the pure devotees have the power to capture the Lord's heart. Even if it isn't mentioned that the Lord wants X, Y, Z to be done, by the fact that the devotees, the pure devotees of the Lord desire it, the Lord says, I'll make it happen. And a classic example that we will see in like 1.5 months' time is the Ādi-līlā. I think it's at the end of October when Ādi-līlā took place, or meaning Diwali time. And there we see how the Lord, who is described as having no beginning and no end, who is limitless, he is tied to a grinding mortar, wooden grinding mortar by his mum, Yashoda Ma. Not by the rope, but by the love that Yashoda had expressed, and the love that Yashoda has for Krishna. And hearing the desire of the Lord to see Advaita Acharya and his wife Sita Devi, they start putting together many, many items of paraphernalia to worship Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Nityananda Prabhu, and they set out, they accompany Ramai back to Navadvip. But on the way, they're actually telling Ramai that, look, the Lord's playing tricks on me, I want to play tricks on the Lord. Don't tell the Lord that I'm here, that I've come to Navadvip. Me and my wife, we will hide in the house of Nanda Acharya. We'll hide in the house of Nanda Acharya. You just speak to the Lord, tell the Lord that we'll come, that we'll come. And there were two reasons for this, that Advaita Acharya wanted to do this. One is to experience the transcendental mellow, the relationship with the Lord of love. Because sometimes you tease the people you love. But the other reason is to prove to the world that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is indeed the super soul in the heart, is indeed the Shirodakshaya Vishnu in the heart of all living entities. Because only if he is the super soul in everybody's heart will he know that actually Advaita Acharya is hiding in the house of Nanda Acharya. And that's what happens. Ramai goes to Mahaprabhu and is going, oh, I've told Advaita Acharya, he's going to come. But Mahaprabhu was like, no, I already know he's here. I already know he's hiding in the house of Nanda Acharya. And so the Lord reciprocates with Advaita Acharya's desire. And when they meet, that's when this description is given. Mahaprabhu says to Advaita Acharya, quote, I've descended to this earth because of your vow and your repeated devotional service and worship. I was resting on the ocean of milk and your roaring woke me up. You are so merciful that you could bear the suffering of humanity. And you have brought me here to alleviate their sufferings. All these demigods, sages, devotees, and associates that surround me have appeared in answer to your prayers. You have arranged for all living entities to see those great devotees, whom even Lord Brahma is constantly thinking about. Unquote. So the Lord is saying himself that he descended from the ocean of milk. The ocean of milk meaning his form of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. In the Bhagavad Gita in chapter 15 we have Sarvasya chaham hriti sanivishto matasmiti garnam apohanam cha. This idea that the Lord is seated in the heart. And while seated in the heart, he's giving all living entities remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. And that's the super soul, that's Kshirodakshaya Vishnu that he's talking about. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying here that he descended from that form to the form of Mahaprabhu because Advaita Acharya had called out to him. And when we think about Kshirodakshaya Vishnu as a personality and what Kshirodakshaya Vishnu does, it's actually quite amazing. It's a phenomenal thing. Imagine in each and every living entity, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu is present. He's manifest. In the world today, we probably have about 8 billion humans. And within our body, or on top of our body, we have, I don't know how many trillion, probably like 30 trillion or something like that, microorganisms, bacteria, all these different things on our bodies. And the Lord, in his form of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, is present in each and every heart and in each and every atom. And I'm just talking about the human form and the microbes on the human form. Imagine all the other living entities, not just of this world, but of all of this universe. And then forget this universe, all of the universes that emanate from the Lord. That's beyond our conception. How can something or someone manifest in each and every living entity, each and every atom, in a number that probably doesn't even exist in our English dictionary right now, in that many forms? And we see that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in many pastimes, or in a few pastimes, he reveals different forms. Like to Advaita Acharya, at some point, he reveals his universal form. To Maharaj Prataparudra, he reveals his Sadbhuj form, his six-handed form, the two of Krishna, two of Ram, two of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And like this, we see that many forms are revealed. And we might be thinking, this is all amazing. Like, this is how amazing the Lord is, that he can manifest in each and every atom. He can reveal so many forms. But in verse 110 that we just read, it says, Srila Prabhupada translates, to calling Kshirodakshaya Vishnu does not add to his glory. Srila Prabhupada is saying that by calling the Lord by his amazing features, by his amazing personalities, by his amazing forms, doesn't actually add to the Lord's glory at all. But in our eyes, this is amazing, isn't it? There was once, I think it was a reporter, or somebody was speaking to Srila Prabhupada and going like, can Krishna create a rock that even he can't lift? And what's Prabhupada's answer? Yes. But then the next moment he can lift it. And that would seem so illogical and so amazing to us. How can somebody do something like this? Even in this world, like we'll see if somebody is lifting, or like we've got, what's it called? Guinness Book of World Records. If we ever went through it, we'll be like, oh my gosh, somebody can like move a plane just by like their teeth. Somebody can like fit so many things in their mouth. We'd be amazed by all these things. What to speak of the Lord and how much He can do? Of course we'd be amazed. But Srila Prabhupada's saying, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami is saying that none of this adds to the Lord's glory. And there's a nice pastime, I'm conscious of time, but I'm going to give it anyway. There's a nice pastime, or I think it's a story, I don't know if it's a pastime, but I believe Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur is the one that first narrates this. It's a story of Narada Muni, a cobbler and a brahmana, and an elephant. I think many people may have heard of it. But pastimes and stories are nice. Once Narada Muni was traveling and he was on his way to see Vishnu. He was on his way to see Narayan. And on his way, he was passing the earthly realm and he had come across a brahmana. And he was telling the brahmana, oh, I'm going to see Vishnu. Would you like me to take a message? And the brahmana was like, oh, you're going to see Vishnu? Please ask him, when will I get liberated? When will I finally, after all the austerities, after all the reading that I'm doing, after all the yagnas that I'm doing, when will I finally come and meet the Lord? And Narada Muni is like, okay, fine, I'll ask him that. Note taken. Nowadays we probably have to put in our phone in a to-do list. And then he's going, and then he comes across a cobbler. And he says the same thing. I'm going to see Narayan. Would you like me to take a message? The cobbler is asking, yes, please do. Please, can you ask the Lord, when would I be liberated? I'm so fallen, I can't even read, I don't know how to do anything. I'm so busy 24 hours a day in doing my work because I just need to make ends meet. When will I get liberated? And so Narada Muni is like, okay, point taken, added to my to-do list. And then he goes to Narayan, he goes to the Vaikuntha planets and speaks to Vishnu. And they're talking about their things, and he goes, oh yes, by the way, I met a Brahmin and a cobbler on earth, and they were asking, when will I get liberated? So Narayan's thinking, and he goes, okay, tell the cobbler that at the end of his life, he will become liberated, he will come back to me. And Narada Muni is making note, when I go back to earth, make sure I tell the cobbler. But then he's going, oh, I forgot about the Brahmana. What about the Brahmana? And Narayan's going, I actually don't know when he's going to get liberated. Maybe hundreds of lifetimes later. And Narada Muni is confused. He's like, hang on. This Brahmana, he's doing so many pious activities, doing so many yagnas, he's performing so many austerities, and he's saying this cobbler who's doing none of that is going to get liberated by the end of this life, but this Brahmana might not get liberated for hundreds of lifetimes? I can't understand what you're doing, Narayan, but okay, I'll tell them that. But can you help me understand? How does this make sense? So Narayan's like, okay, look, you'll understand when you go down. When you go down, both of them will ask you, what was the Lord doing? So in response to that, tell them that their sweet Lord was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. You know, a needle's like this big. The eye of the needle is probably like really tiny. And the Lord is threading a massive elephant through the eye of the needle. And Narada Muni is like, Narayan's gone crazy. I think he needs to go to a mental asylum. No, I'm joking. He didn't say that, but he's thinking like, okay, this is strange, I'm confused. But anyway, he follows because Narayan must have a plan. He always teaches in strange ways. And so Narayan goes and he comes across the Brahmana and they're speaking and he's going, oh yeah, by the way, I met Lord Vishnu. And the Brahmana is like, oh, what was Lord Vishnu doing? What was the Lord doing? Did you ask the question? And Narayan is like, yeah, the Lord said that you'll come back after many lifetimes. He doesn't know exactly when, but many lifetimes. And the Brahmana is annoyed. He's like, what? There's no way you met Vishnu. There's no way you met the Lord. I'm doing all of these things and you're saying that I'm not going to get liberated? You didn't meet Vishnu. If you met Vishnu, tell me, what was Vishnu doing? And so Narad Muni is then saying that Narayan was, through the eye of a needle, threading an elephant. And the Brahma's like, you're crazy. There's no way that the Lord was doing this. You definitely did not meet him. No wonder why your answer to my question was so ludicrous. Go away. And so Narad Muni is like scratching his head. He's like, okay, well, Narayan told me to do this, so I said this. So then he comes across the cobbler. And then the cobbler is also asking, like, oh my gosh, did you speak to the Lord? Tell me, did you ask the question? And Narayan's like, yes. So I keep saying Narayan. Narad Muni said yes. And Narad Muni then said that, yeah, he said that you'll come back at the end of this lifetime. Cobbler's excited. He's like, oh my gosh, what was the Lord doing when you were speaking to him? Like, he must be doing something amazing. And Narad Muni is going, yeah, he was threading an elephant through the eye of a needle. Oh my gosh, he was doing this? My Lord is so amazing. And Narad Muni is confused. Huh? You actually believe that the Lord was doing this? And the cobbler is going, are you crazy, Narad Muni? Like, it's so obvious, of course he can do this. If in a tree there are many, many fruits, and if within those fruits there are many, many seeds, and if within those seeds there is the potential for many, many trees, then how is it so amazing that the Lord is threading an elephant through the eye of a needle? When one seed has a potential to create a whole forest, how can the Lord not thread an elephant through the eye of a needle? And so we see from this pastime and the other pastimes that what the Lord does is actually not amazing to the pure devotees, because it's just a manifestation or an expression of a very small potency that the Lord has. Because the Lord is omnipresent, the Lord is omnipotent, the Lord is the absolute. Everything around us is the Lord's energy. And yet being amazed by a small faction or a small attribute of the Lord, how can the pure devotees who know the Lord think that it's amazing? They appreciate it because that appreciation comes from a place of, the Lord is so great and we are so small, and that's why the Lord is amazing. But for us, it's, this is so amazing, and we're appreciating and glorifying the actual thing because we think that's amazing. But actually, the Lord is amazing, and that's why everything that happens from the Lord looks to be amazing. And so like this, we see that in this specific section of the Caitanya-caritāmṛta, we're talking about how Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying that he came down from his Shirdakshaya, from the ocean of milk, by the call of Advaita Acharya. And then in the last verse that we read, we're basically saying that actually it's all other, translation, all other incarnations are potentially situated in the original body of the primeval Lord. Thus, according to one's opinion, one may address him as any one of the incarnations, unquote. All the incarnations are described as plenary portions of the Lord. They're non-different to the Lord, just as Prabhupada would often give the example of a candle. If you have one candle that is lit up, and then there's many, many other candles, using that one candle, you can light all the other candles, and the illumination that's given out, the heat that's given out, the energy that's given out is all of the same potency. Is there a difference between any of the candles? No. But you know that there is still the original candle there. And so that's the description of Krishna and his expansions or incarnations. Krishna is the original candle, and all the other candles of the same potency, they have the same energy. They're non-different to the original candle, but they're still the original candle. They're still the original Krishna. But because these are all plenary portions, these are all incarnations of the Lord, there's no difference between calling out to Krishna, calling out to Govinda, calling out to Jagannath, calling out to Narasimhadev, calling out to Vishnu. Because within all of these expansions, all of these incarnations, the inherent understanding, the inherent tattva, that there's still the original candle, holds true. So even within ISKCON, we see that there's so many deities that we have. We have Radha Govinda here. In London, we have Radha Gokulananda. In Detroit, we have Radha Gopijam Vallabh. There's so many personalities, so many forms of the Lord. And each of us are attracted to different forms of the Lord. And not just that, even when we're all in this temple room looking at Radha Govinda, we'll all be attracted to different features of Radha Govinda. Some may be attracted to the color red that they're wearing. Some may be attracted to the nice peacock feathers that are around Krishna's chest. Some may be attracted to the crown that Krishna is wearing. Some may be attracted to the flute. Some may be attracted to the smile of Krishna. All of us will be attracted to different things. And that's variety, because each of us have a personal relationship with Krishna. We all associate and connect with Krishna in different ways. And that's the beauty of a personal God. There's no box that we're defined by to say that you can only appreciate these 100 things of the Lord. We can all appreciate any aspect of the Lord, provided it's the Lord that we're connecting to. And that's bona fide, it's authentic, because we're attracted to the Lord in our individual ways. And so, even outside of ISKCON, we see that there's so many different spiritual paths that connect to God in a bona fide, authentic way. Some worship Ram, some worship Nrsimhadev. Some worship Krishna in a child form, in baby form, like the Pushti Marg. We worship Radha Krishna in their adolescence. And it's all authentic because we're all, some worship Lakshmi Narayan. It's all authentic because we're all worshipping and connecting to Krishna or Krishna's incarnations. And so here in the purport, Srila Prabhupada is saying that it is not contradictory for a devotee to call the Supreme Lord by any one of the various names of his plenary expansions, because the original personality of Godhead includes all such categories. So we may have different forms that we're attracted to of the Lord, and we can appreciate how each and every one of us are attracted in different ways to the Lord, because that variety means that we have a personal relationship with God, and that personal relationship with God means that God can experience something unique in our relationship. Because if we did not have a personal relationship, if there was nothing unique about my relationship with God and my attraction to God, then I'd just be a replica of somebody else's relationship. So then to Krishna, why would it matter whether it's Bhaja-Govindam Das who's coming to Krishna or whether it's Prabhu Vishnu Das who's coming to Krishna? Because he's experienced the same mellow. But the fact that Krishna himself experiences different mellows with his devotees means that we can appreciate the individuality that we all have as well. So I'm conscious of time, I will end there. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Any questions, comments, corrections? See.
I had a question about the names, the potency of the names. I forgot where the trust was, but it says that the name of Narayana has a certain amount of potency, and then Vishnu, Ram, and then Krishna. Like the most potent.
Yes, so
saying 1,000 names of Narayana equal to
Vishnu Sahasranam, I believe it's from, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so this idea, so I guess for online audience, the question is about the various potencies and the names of the different forms of the Lord. I guess the question is, like, how does that make sense in connection to this?
Yeah, to you saying that it's being equal.
Yeah. So that's a really nice question. This idea that there's Krishna's name, there's Ram's name, there's Vishnu's name, but in certain scriptures it's mentioned that there's a difference. If I'm not mistaken, it's 1,000 names of Vishnu is one name of Ram, 3 names of Ram is one name of Krishna in terms of potency. The way we can understand this is by seeing that, like we mentioned, they're incarnations, they're plenary portions of the Lord, of the Supreme Lord. So even though there's no difference between the personalities, there's still a difference in terms of, I have to get this right the way around, in terms of the rasa, in terms of the mellow. So I believe it's Jiva Goswami, someone can correct me, but who did an analytical study of the literature as well as of the tattva, in one sense, the philosophy. And what he basically explains is that there's Jiva Tattva, which has a certain percentage of Krishna's qualities. Then there's Shiva Tattva, which has a certain percentage of Krishna's qualities. But then there's Vishnu Tattva that has a certain percentage of Krishna's qualities. And then there's Krishna. So Krishna is the original. Krishna is the complete. He's Om Purnamada Purnam. He's the perfect and complete. And the incarnations are also perfect and complete. But there's, because of the difference in the rasa that is available in Krishna versus Vishnu versus Ram, there's a difference in not necessarily the potency of the name, but more so in terms of the experience that you can get from the name. That's my understanding, unless somebody else has a better understanding.
It's the experience that you get, the taste, the rasa.
Yeah, so you see, like with Krishna and Ram, you see Ram is described as Maryada Purushottam. He's basically rules, regulations, discipline. Krishna has all rules, regulation, discipline, because you see him in the Dwarka form, Dwarkadish. But then you see there's an aspect of Krishna in Vrindavan which is pure mellow, which is pure love, which is pure relationship. He's eating food from the cowherd boys' mouths, actually, like he's taking the food from their mouth and eating it. He's enjoying pastimes with the cowherd girls. He's stealing buttermilk. Like these things aren't following rules, regulations, discipline. But Krishna has everything that Ram does, or has, but then and something else, which is why he's the complete.
So by calling out his name, we're sort of revealing our rasa, the shadow of, or?
Yes and no. In order to actually experience the pure love, the pure taste of the names, we have to be very elevated. I think it's Rupa Goswami that prays that he wishes he had thousands of ears and thousands of tongues. We're not at that stage. When we're chanting japa, at least I speak for myself, I'm falling asleep. I'm like chanting the names of the Lord and going, ugh. And then somebody wakes me up and it's like, oh yeah, I'm chanting, you know. Because I have no taste. It's described that if we have taste, then Caitanya-caritāmṛta, we will never stop chanting. But even while we're chanting in this world, we fall asleep. Because we're not at that stage where we experience the pure relish of Krishna's name. So when we're at that stage, or close to it, then it's described that yes, our relationship gets revealed and we find the real taste in our relationships. But even now, in our current form, wherever we're at in our spiritual life, we do find that we have certain attractions to certain deities, or certain attraction to certain pastimes. And there's nothing wrong in it, but what would become wrong is if we start seeing that as our eternal relationship. Because we're attracted to a certain pastime, and that attraction could be coming from certain conditionings that we already have. Like a classic one, not necessarily for devotees, but classic one is that those who are really interested in having male-female relationships, they'll be like, oh, I really love the Ādi-līlā of Krishna. Why? Because Krishna has many, many girlfriends. That means I can have many, many girlfriends. But as devotees, we recognize that that isn't the case. We might still be attracted to Krishna's pastimes with the gopis, but it's not, hopefully, it's not in the mood of he has many girlfriends, so I can have many girlfriends. It's appreciating how he has such loving interactions, and there's a purity that I can't understand in it. So I feel like I digress from the question, but. Maybe after, if you'd like. Okay. Any other questions, comments? No? Okay. Thank you very much. Shri Caitanya-caritāmṛta ki. Shri Prabhupada.
Bhaja-Govindam Prabhu ki.
Shri Prabhupada ki. Jai.